Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So it's time to revisit the tier list. So before we get started, the mandatory disclaimers that this list is a mixture of my personal views on the game and current content in the game and relevance to it. Please do not use this as a list of point of argument, but more of a food for thought. Each summoner has completely different needs and preferences that far outweigh the importance on this list. I'm personally always an advocate of target objective problem solving rank up, where you see what you need to help you clear the content or do the thing that you're struggling with and rank up a champion in order to do that. Because guess what? Then, for instance, if you need somebody for variant 5, good, rank up somebody for variant 5, clear variant 5, and you're going to get rank up materials for your next rank up. And then rank up somebody for 6.1 or 7.2 or whatever else that you need to do that you are struggling with. If you need help with Alliance Quest, rank up somebody that's going to help you in Alliance Quest, rather than just taking a look at some tier list, this one or any other one, and seeing like, ooh, this champion's very high, it must be very good. He might be, but he might not be helpful to you right now at all, and it would be a waste of a rank up, at least for, considerable time. So please rank champions that will help you get where you're trying to go, and do not blindly follow this or any other list. So, the last point, only champions that are out available as 6 stars are featured in this list. The 5-star champions are here in the bottom. People are always asking, where's Quake, where's Magic, so on and so forth. So recently, we actually have addition of Blade, who still, at the moment sits in useful, because that is exactly where I see them. Quick explanation of all the tiers. So top of the game means pretty much the best of the best champions in the game. Meta means champions that are extremely good and very frequently used by large portions of player base in order to address hardest contents in the game, be that AQ, be that AW, be that most prominent questing champions, so on and so forth. Frequently useful are basically champions that are just shy of that are good, that are certainly capable of sorting out your issues and sorting out your problems, and are many people's favorites, and are definitely often very much so worthwhile rank ups. It's just that they do not necessarily get to shine as much as often than champions above them. And then useful is just exactly as it sounds, champions that can and will be used for certain things. They're not necessarily the most impressive champions in the game, but however, they are champions that can get the job done. Like, I believe, for instance, a very good example would be Massacre. Massacre isn't necessarily the top skill champion, but he still sees playtime for CAB-EQ. I have used Massacre personally for several parts in Act 6 or Act 7, and they do address the problems. They might not necessarily always be the best solution for some particular problem, but they often can be like, secondary or tertiary solution or tertiary best options. Occasionally useful are champions that, vast majority of the situations are not going to be the champions that you particularly want to rely on or choose. However, they still have their moments to shine, either due to some specific nodes or due to some specific matchups. Like Guillotine, for instance, is, arguably one of the most OP champions in last month Mystic Quest, where every hit you power drain the opponent, you gain infinite amounts of furies, and you just do filthy damage. So Guillotine, for that one specific thing, she can be the best thing ever in your account. But for most kind of generic scenarios, these are not necessarily the champions that you recommend other people to rank up. And actually, I'm moving Cersei as well. I should have moved Cersei up 1 tier, because she's proving herself somewhat more useful, and she's gaining a bit of esteem. So we're going to move Cersei up as we are recording this. Very well. And we're going to leave the rest of them right about here. And then obviously useless, borderline unplayable, or insignificant are typically the champions that are either severely underpowered or just completely outdated, champions that you would very rarely rank up in order to clear any type of content. There are some good defenders for Alliance War defense in there and stuff like that, but in general, it's still the champions that majority of the player base will just, immediately look past and be somewhat disappointed pulling. Right, that being said, let's go over the new champions that got added. and let's take a look at a couple of changes that I have made. So we have Toad and Sauron, and both of them I have placed in useful tier. Both of them do seem to be capable of some fairly interesting things, but I have yet to see, for instance, anything in the game where, you know, I definitely need to play with Toad, or I definitely wish I had Sauron. Now, I have both of these champions as 5-star rank 3s. I have messed around with them, and they're perfectly adequate. They're not, you know, depressingly underpowered or excitingly dynamic. They're just kind of there. There are things that you will be able to do with each of them that will be quite handy. I do think that, you know, Toad could potentially have some interesting applications, and potentially so with Sauron, but initially it's extremely hard to judge exactly where they are going to land. Time will tell. This is by no means, again, exactly where they're going to stay. There is a very good argument that potentially they will either move up or down, but initially I'm putting both of them in here because that's where I kind of see them fit. I haven't seen anything overly impressive to showcase that they are, like, you know, deserving any higher than that. I have moved Ebony Maw up to useful. I realized that I might have been undervaluing him quite a bit. There are more and more situations where he is either a cheese god or still a very suitable option with that access to passive degen. His level 3 spam can be very effective, and in longer matchups as well, that level 1 can be extremely potent also. So yeah, Ebony Maw is going slightly up. Also, his ability, once he's focused, to basically kind of shut off opponents' passive power gain effects, can be quite potent in several different situations. Most notable push upwards at the moment is Nimrod. Nimrod has been, I believe, impressing pretty much everybody. Nimrod was by far my personal MVP for this Alliance War season. I saw him get a ton of use by many different players who have him ranked as well. Additionally, he's an absolute beast for several different trickier pieces of content, and in general, you just know if there's a mutant, if there's a regeneration, or if there's a prowess buff somewhere in the nodes or ability kits, then, you know, Nimrod is going to be an excellent option. Obviously, also his tankiness and different interesting bits and kits of utility, like access to unblockable, improved power rate. There's just a lot to enjoy in the champion, and he's definitely 100% proving himself as, you know, potentially even being capable of moving up to the top of the game. Right now, I can genuinely say that Nimrod is one of the most, you know, exciting champions, most used champions in my roster. One of the rank ups that I'm most satisfied with in recent months. Other than that, I don't think there is any other significant changes. I'm still leaving Craven down where he used to be, and for most part I believe that is just about it. I moved Cersei up to useful tier because there are more aspects of Cersei that do seem to be fairly unique, fairly interesting, and hopefully I get to showcasing on my channel as well. And that is it. We are still sticking with exactly the same champions listed in top of the game, and only addition to meta has been Nimrod at this point. Yes. So, that being said, I know a lot of people are very excited about the new solo competitive mode. And I'm sure that, you know, champions representation in solo competitive mode is also going to somewhat affect this list, but I will definitely make a separate list of, you know, the best champions for it when it becomes more clear. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait still another 6 or 7 weeks till we get to play the beta ourselves, the big open beta, when it's going to come first time around. But by then, you know, it's going to be much easier to kind of distinguish which champions work best for it, which do not necessarily work as well. But a lot of that is going to depend on the exact specific nodes that we will have to play with and against. And therefore, you know, it's not quite possible to make an entire list yet of which champions, you know, people should pay closer attention to. I do have several champions in mind that likely will be very good for that solo competitive mode. Like Mysterio, for instance, is probably going to be really, really good for it. Punisher 2099 probably is going to be quite good for it. Spider-Gwen looks like she's going to be really good for it. I'm actually thinking that Red Guardian could potentially be amazing if we have these power snack nodes and everything else. Because, you know, his ability never to gain buff is going to let you deal with all of that stuff. And then obviously the fact that he can perfect block reliably is going to help him finish with high health pulls. And, you know, Havoc is potentially going to be very good for it. So there are definitely quite a few champions that I'm kind of already thinking about could potentially be good for that solo competitive mode. But we can't, you know, draw any kind of final conclusions for that because there's still a lot of unknowns there. But yeah, with that, that has been the update to my tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know which placements you agree with, which you disagree with. What do you think about it? What do you think about Toad and Sauron specifically? Do you think I'm perhaps being a bit too harsh or too generous to them? And the other changes as well. All that being said, I'm going to catch you guys next time. See ya. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about